All right. All right. So we're live now in the Connected Spoonies group, and I have a special person I wanted everyone to meet. This is Christy. Um, so I think I'll just let Christy introduce herself, tell us about herself, and go from there.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Christy. I am a life and business coach. I specialize with productivity, time management, and life work balance. And I'm here today to talk about how to harness your unique energy flow, especially in this group. I think it's a very important topic for this group. And I was going to say, the freebie that I gave for this, it's a life balance survey. So it's something that you can take. Actually, I suggest people take like once every 3 months or so, just to kind of see where you're at, because it does actually affect your energy of where you're going to be putting that energy and what you're going to be working on to make sure that, that's exactly where you want to be in either, your friends or any other criteria that you want to work on those 3 months or so. Or you can take it every month if you want to. Doesn't matter. So regarding energy, it's a very interesting topic that I've been kind of obsessed with lately, especially, coming from the chronic illness side, we have typically less energy than most people. And especially depending on which chronic illness you have to manage your energy and you have to protect your energy pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Of the little energy that you may have. Maybe we have like spurts of energy that we're just like go, and that's normally what I do. Especially I've come from having a lot of migraines, and as much as I can work through them because I've trained myself, when I don't have migraines, everything just seems timeless because I can do so many things. And I think that's kind of our superpower every now and then. When we feel good, we can do so much, but we also have to take some of that time to still take care of ourselves, because now we have energy to take care of ourselves.
Yep.
So it's one thing people forget. They're like, oh, now I feel good. I'm going to do all the things I can do. Great. Make sure you're doing the things that set you up to feel better, hopefully the next day. So if you need to refill your water bottle or anything like that, it's just something people forget about. But regarding, how to kind of find your unique energy flow, it has to do a lot with learning about yourself. So that goes along with the survey that I give, but also like there's so many personality tests out there and so many like strengths tests out there. If you like learning about yourself, it's a great starting point, because then you can see where you're better at, and that's where you should also use your energy. So for example, one of my highest strengths for Strength Finder, just to pull one out there, is restorative, which means I generally like to fix things. I like to work on things that are already there. I don't really like to recreate the wheel. I can, but my superpower is there. So that's where I'm going to be using my energy. And from that, I know if I do anything in my bottom strengths, that's going to take more energy. So that if I have to do, like, for example, anything that has to do with being social, like going out in the world, that takes more of my energy. And that also goes along with me being an introvert. But that I know that if I have to go to a networking event, say tomorrow, like in person, I'm going to take the previous day and also probably the rest of the day after the networking event to just be with myself and to just like not deal with anything pretty much. And it's kind of like you're like a money budget, you're budgeting your money, but you have to budget your energy and your time as well, especially your energy. But with that, after you learn as much as you do, that's where you start testing things. So you can test to see what works for you. You can test to see, if you took a test that said you're an introvert, are you actually an introvert or are you an ambivert? It's like, where do you actually fall and what actually feels good to you? And I think that's one thing people forget to do as well, is once they learn about all of these personality tests, they don't test to see that it actually was their result. They're just like, oh, that's what I am. I don't know how many different times I've tested different things in Myers-Briggs until I finally learned about it. And I'm like, oh no, I'm definitely an INFJ. Like that's where I look like the rest of these when I was pretending to do something that I really didn't want to do. And I could very well do that, but I'm an INFJ because of everything else I've learned. So after you actually learn a little bit about yourself, go into the testing phase of like, does this work? Does using my energy this way work? Do I need to reserve it a little bit more? Do I need to find another way to fill up my cup? Like, what do you need to do to actually do the things that you not only want to do, but the things that you need to do? Because there's always things that we need to do, like wash the dishes, which is never fun. But that was kind of like a caveat to my next point of find the things you do like to do, because those are the things that, even though maybe energetically for most people may take a lot, but for you, because you like it and because you're good at it, and those are the two things that should go hand in hand. You should like it and you should be good at it. Those are actually going to take you less energy because you're not fighting against yourself. Yeah. Once you start fighting against yourself, that's where all your energy starts like completely dipping. And that's, beyond the point of, even if your chronic illness is flaring up, that will make it 10 times worse. Yeah. So not everybody has the luxury to, and I do call it a luxury or a privilege, to do things that they love to do. But that's why some of the things that are in your control, you should be doing in the way that you like to do it. So even at 5% of your week, do something in that 5% that is something that you really love to do, because that will make you kind of give you motivation to do other things. So I have something that I call the one thing, and either I do that one, if it's a big thing, I do that one thing all week, or I choose one thing a day, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to feel accomplished for. And if it's a hard thing for me to do because I just have to do it, then I'll, get over it and do it. But the first thing I do is something easy. Yeah. So I always start with something easy. I like bookend my day in two different ways. I bookend my day with self-care. I always start with self-care and end with self-care. But I always bookend my work day. Even when I had a regular 9-to-5 job, I always started it with something that was easy, and I ended it with something that was easy, because it felt better to my brain. It felt better to my energy. It felt better to probably everybody around me that I started in a good mood. Because if you start with something really hard, it's kind of like an uphill battle for the rest of the day. When you can kind of put that in a time that, one, you're already motivated because you just did something good. You just did something you knew how to do. And two, I don't know about you, but for me, the first few things I do in the day, I am not at 100% because my brain takes a while to wake up.
Yep, coffee until the brain is awake.
Exactly. I got my tea here. I got my tea. And it's just, that's why it's easier. It's easier to do something, especially if the first few hours of your day, maybe that's not the peak of your day. But even if it is, I just suggest that for motivation reasons. Start something a little easier. And that's the next thing. So I believe in your group, it's mostly women.
Yeah, I think there's one or two guys in here, but they filter in and they filter out.
Okay. Well, what's interesting about women is that we are forced to kind of be in a 24-hour world when our energy doesn't work 24 hours, even if we're not currently menstruating for, either medical reasons or medication reasons. We are actually on a flow of a pretty much a 28-day-ish cycle. So when we're trying to do the same thing at the same time every day, and then 7 days later, we're like, why don't I have energy? You have a dip in your energy. You have to shift it. And a lot of women don't realize that because we're forced in the 24-hour-a-day, mostly male world, because they can do that. And we can't, and it's not a bad thing, because on some days of the month, especially if you're menstruating, you actually have more energy, because that's when technically you're supposed to get pregnant. Yeah. But you don't have to get pregnant. You can use the energy to create a project. And so it's very interesting when you start actually also figuring that out, of when your energy actually flows, of when you have more energy, when you have less energy during the day and during the month. And then you can actually harness your bigger projects or your, big goals around that, instead of doing it on the days, you should still do work if you want to, of course, on the days that maybe you have lower energy, but you're not going to be in the middle of a launch, or you probably shouldn't be. You're going to be exhausted. And it's kind of hard to do that to start, because you're still trying to learn about yourself if you don't know that about yourself. But also, just if you're just going to break it down per day, there is a certain time of my day, unless anything else is going on, unless I have a flare up or something. But most of the time, I would say the time right before my lunch is like at 5 p.m. but the time before my lunch is when I have like the most brain power. I don't know why. The time after my lunch, I'm like dipped because I just ate. But right before my lunch is when I can get a lot of things done. So around that like 3-4 o'clock time is when I know I can get a lot of stuff done. And then my next time I can do it is probably around 8 or 9. That's another time. So, and it took me a while to figure out that flow that I have because I was also coming from waking up early, and I am not a morning person. Like, you're a morning person, you're a night person, you're a person who takes naps. Like, you're one or the other. Oh, that's a great question. So how do you shift your energy so you don't burn out?
Yep, that's from Lucy.
Thank you, Lucy. So one big thing you can do to shift your energy is actually to slow down. Because if you're about to burn out, you need to slow down. I'm not sure if you've heard it before, slow down to speed up, but it's really powerful to do that. So you're going to do, and I tell people because, I was a workaholic too, like you have to work, but you do the bare minimum to get by in either your job or your business, and you go more introspectively in. You can journal if you want. You can take a long bath. You can do whatever self-care means to you. If self-care means to you brushing your hair, that's your self-care. That's whatever is good to you. Yes. I hate when people are like, let's take a 3-hour spa. I'm like, great. I love to do that every now and then. But sometimes my self-care is literally like brushing my hair in the morning because that's all I can do. So do the bare minimum so you can start kind of regaining that energy and motivation, and also put some fun in there. If you don't have fun, you're not going to actually continue in that upward momentum to get back into your key peak energy. So anything that's fun for you. Actually, when I worked with my coach, she had us do what she calls a do you list, and it's a self-care list. It's a self-care menu. So we pick different types. You can pick anything from something that's 15 seconds, like literally putting your favorite lotion on your hand, or you could do something like 3 hours, which is a spa day. But like I have a menu that's literally broken up in, well, mine started with time, but now it's actually free versus paid. Because sometimes you can just pay for someone to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Especially
I did this on Friday. And
exactly.
It's so like more purple. And
I love it.
And she curled it. And we're trying to, because my hair is heavy, so we're trying to see how long the curls with all the hairspray. So it's not permed, but it's been curled with a curling iron, seeing how long that actually lasts in. And it's, I mean, for 72 hours, it's still got curl to it, so it's not pinned straight. Yay!
Yeah. Well, how did you feel about after that? I'm sure after that you were probably a little bit tired because it's like sitting in a chair forever.
Yeah, but it was 3 hours of chatting with someone that I don't chat with often, and I mean, it's cheaper to get your hair done and you get more with your hair done with a head massage than it is to go pay for a massage. So that's the way I usually, justify getting my hair done is I'm just going for a head massage. Basically.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like everybody has different criteria of what their self-care is. On my list, I even have go to the chiropractor. Like that's what it is. You can have your medical reasons for self-care, or literally just maybe you need to go fill your cup and chat with a hairdresser. Like, yeah, I mean, a lot of them are amazing. So that's what I would suggest is literally go bare minimum, add fun, add more things that you feel that you need to kind of revamp your energy. And especially if you feel like you're about to burn out, you have to slow down, because once you burn out, especially for us, it takes, I know it takes me out a lot longer. Because then I get sick. Everything is horrible. Nothing even tastes good. Like everything just goes weird. And that happens when we are pushing ourselves, 1, too much, and 2, in the wrong direction. And it's very interesting when people start looking at it more of your intuition, your internal compass. Once you start feeling like everything's getting harder, 1 or 2 things are happening. 1, you might have an upper limit problem, which is you're about to break your next leveling in your life. And that does happen. But also sometimes if you really dig into it and it's not an upper limit problem, you're probably self-sabotaging yourself. And that's just what happens with all of us. We're humans. we have this weird way of protecting ourselves that actually is backward.
Yeah.
We're not actually protecting ourselves. We're actually making things worse. But there was a lot of signs there, including being tired, including getting sick, or, you know, anything that's a sign for you. For me, it's a sign when I have this weird lump in my throat that I'm not speaking my truth. That actually happens to me. And then my throat starts hurting every day. So there's little signs that you can start tracking to see, like, are you going on your right path? If you're not, then you need to course correct. And you could be very gentle with yourself, or you can literally flip everything over. It doesn't matter. It's really whatever works for you. People can tell you like 10,000 different ways to do something, but there's only going to be one way that works for you. And that's the one that you need to kind of test and find.
And I love that. I love that philosophy. That's pretty much, you know, what I'm going on about is everybody, even if everybody has the same diagnosis, it all manifests itself differently in every person. So, I mean, one person could have MS and really loves the cold weather, and some person could be okay with the cold weather.
Yes, exactly. And especially for us, I find that sometimes that's a problem because everybody puts us in the same box. Like, well, no, we have the same label on our box, maybe, but we're not in the same box because we have other things going on as well. Like, a lot of us have multiple chronic illnesses, and they all fight with each other or flare up each other, and that's never fun. And it's just very individual. Like, your journey is always going to be very individual. So I'm a type of person that will take in a whole bunch of information and then start like grabbing what works for me and then going with that. And then maybe in a few months it's not working for me anymore. I have to find a new one. That's because we also change. We change pretty much every day if you think about it. But the main takeaway I always try to give people is awareness is a key to be better. What that better means to you is completely up to you. Is that getting better with your chronic illness? Is that getting better in your business? Is that you being able to navigate the world a little bit easier? That's your definition. But the awareness is a start. So starting to see how you react to certain things, how your energy changes with certain things, how you get energy or lose energy, that's important for you to actually do whatever you want to do in the be better category and achieving your goals, or just, you know, getting up every day. That's a big goal that a lot of people have, is literally just being able to get up and go do the bare minimum, which is a great goal. Like, you do whatever you need to do to continue on your journey of whatever you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You should always have a goal. Anything. It could be literally anything. It could be you want to go to work every day this week without calling out. That could be a goal. And if that means some days you come home early, that happens. That's fine. And the point is to strive for something so you have something to look forward to. And if it seems too hard, like so soul-crushing hard, you need to change your goal. You don't have to have these big, weird, amazing goals that all these other people may or may not have. You need to make the one that's good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very, very sage and wise advice.
Thank you.
So on this, you know, finding our unique flow, and we've done all these different, you know, tests, and we've analyzed our results and said, okay, these ones sort of fit. What do we, I mean, being aware, what's the next step after being aware? Like making small goals, but do we just make a whole bunch of small goals, or just one small goal? Or is it more of I want to get through my day and that's a good goal for now, but when is that goal? When are we beyond that goal? As in, like, we've mastered it.
Okay. So that was a few questions. One, you can have a goal in categories. So a lot of people like working with categories. You can either use the categories I gave you on the survey. Otherwise, I have been playing around with different categories. So I have like physical, mental, inspiration, like those are my categories. And what I do is try to pick. So currently for this year, for example, I have an overarching goal in every category. So I have 8 categories, and each of them have a big year goal. And then every quarter, I break it down to a quarter goal, but every month, I break it down to a monthly goal. So that's how my brain works. And I know some people do more of a sprint. So like, they'll just pick a date and be like, I want to blah, blah, blah in 60 days. I'm like, great, do that. Now, when I think your second part was about when you're finished or when you feel like you achieved it, is you can make that kind of benchmark for yourself. So for myself, it's the yearly. That's when I feel like I'll hit it. Is if I hit my yearly goal, even if I hit it 5 months early, that would be the done for that category. And then I can make a new one if I want to. But otherwise, there's some goals that are such lifelong goals that every time you hit a milestone, you're like, okay, I know I can do that. So now I'm going to try this. Or you backtrack, which happens. Especially with us when something goes wrong. But so at that point, every 3 months, that's why I have the 3 goals or the 3-month goals, because I refresh every month. So I still use those like leading goals to kind of guide me along the way. But every 3 months, I look at it. I'm like, okay, did I hit the goal from last month? No. Do I still want to try? Yeah, sure. So I'll literally rewrite it. Or if I'm like, okay, I don't know what the heck I was thinking. Why did I think I can even hit that in 3 months? Let's break it down a little further. Let me see what I can hit. Because goals have to be, I know people hear about SMART goals all the time, but they do have to be realistic. And realistic, here's the kicker. It's not realistic to the world. It's realistic to you. And if it's not realistic to you, you're not like very comfortable with yourself with, that messy action and failing. And to me, failure is just a lesson. Like if I didn't hit a goal because I failed, I learned not to do that goal again in that way. I need to do something else. But if you're not comfortable with failure yet, then you need to do a goal that's really like right under the pushing your button type of limit, because you have to hit it. You have to hit it so you can feel like you can do the next goal. So that's why even with my days, as I structure them, I start with something easy and something I can accomplish, because motivation, once you lose that, it's hard to get back. You're like, okay, I'm done. I give up for the day. We're done. Which fine and dandy if you do that every now and then, but realistically, you can't do that every day. Especially if you need to make money. So there's that. But with that, it's 2 things there. It's one, you figure out how you want to structure your goals, and there's plenty of different I use power sheets, for example, which just kind of help you along the whole way. But whether or not you ever feel like you finish will depend on how you structure that goal. So if it's like, for example, here's one that changes all the time, a weight goal. I have a weight goal this year that I want to hit 145 pounds. I may hit that this year, and then 3 months into next year, I might gain weight again, and then just going to go in a roller coaster, because some of those are just roller coaster type goals. And you have to be okay with that. So kind of also being aware of what goals, will go kind of backward every now and then. A goal I would say that I have it right in front of me, that can't really go backward, is how many books I read, because you can't unread a book. So those will always have those forward momentum. Sure, it might stop at some point because you're like, I don't feel like reading anything, but you can't really go backward. So there's certain goals that you have that can have that roller coaster effect, and that's okay, because that's our life. We're on a roller coaster. It's just how we live. Yeah. But then there's some goals that's once you hit it, you can't go backward, because just how the nature of that goal is. And so yeah, that would be my main 2 things regarding goals and achieving them and all of that.
Okay. So what do you think learning about your energy flow really helped you in the business aspect? How did you apply that? I know you said before you talked about the way you structure your day, setting up with something easy and manageable, and then ending with something easy or manageable, and putting the hard bits in between so that you finish and feel motivated at the beginning and feel motivated and accomplished at the end. Mm-hmm. So how do you incorporate that into running a business? Is it just on your good moments? You do the easy stuff on your good moments and then the harder stuff in the harder moments? Or is it, do you rearrange things differently? How do you use that in your business structure?
So I actually have a model calendar, and it's a separate calendar I have that I can lay over my Google one, so I can see certain things that I technically plan to do, and everything for me it's an hour chunk, even though I may not take an hour on it, because sometimes when you're in the moment, you can bust out an email sequence in like 15 minutes, and that's magic. But that's what I do. I have a model calendar to guide me, and I also have my goals to guide me. So if for whatever reason I'm having a weird week because I don't feel good or something's going on, I know there's certain things I need to do. And then if I'm having a good week and I know I can work, as much as I can, or as much as I actually limit myself to, and I'll speak about that in a second, then I work on, basically list B. So the first thing I would say is I love to-do lists, but now I know I don't have to complete all of it because that would just drive me up a wall. So I write everything down, and a lot of it is literally just a brain dump. And then I put it on a back burner. So it's like, oh yeah, I wanted to source images for something, and then I can do that right there because that fits in a category that I have in my model calendar. Now, regarding the boundaries I put on myself, I don't work every day, and I used to. Especially when I had a full-time job, full-time job plus overtime, plus my, when I was a VA, I worked all the time, and I basically napped. I didn't really sleep. I took naps. And that almost completely destroyed my health because I already had health issues going on, and I just kept pushing myself. So in my model calendar, it already shows there that I work Monday, Thursday, Friday, and then, Monday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday are flex days. So that's how that works. So I don't work on Tuesday or Wednesday unless I have a coaching call, but that's because with my coach, but I don't really do anything else. If anything comes to my head those days, I write notes down. So you have to have certain boundaries with yourself so you know when to refill your cup. So even on my model calendar, I have personal time. I have food and personal time blocked out. Those cannot move. And so on those times I eat, and then those times I rest. I even have I think 30 minutes after I eat my lunch to just chill because I know I just dip and I'm just nope, I'm not going to even be useful. I tried. That's the thing. You can try and test things, and then you're going to realize that does that work for you? If it doesn't, switch it. Especially for us, since we have our own business. I know not everybody can do that. If I worked in the 9 to 5 job, I would do probably the same thing, having those kind of barriers of time that I protect. So for example, if I worked my when I had an hour lunch, I used to work through my entire lunch. But probably now it'd be half of it I can work and half of it I'm going to literally shut my brain off. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean? Literally turn everything off, don't work on anything, not about work, not about my business, nothing. And you kind of need that so you could kind of keep kind of jump skipping while you're going. And then going back to how you use your energy for all of that, you need to be able to see those times of the day that you have those peak moments. And those are the times of the day that you're either going to work on something harder or something that is more impactful in your business. There's the 80-20 rule. I don't know if you heard about it. 80% of your results come from 20% of your action. So a lot of times you don't need to be doing all the things. You just need to be doing the key things in your business or your life that actually is going to give your 80% of results. And that has to do with a lot of analytics and metrics for certain things. But there's some things you just know, if I work on this, I get this. And that's sometimes it's kind of like a dopamine hit when you realize that. You're just oh, okay, I already know that. So you want to work on those things. And they're easier to work on because you already know that they're going to give something. But while you're trying to find that, you kind of need to test out and figure out, okay, so if I work on my emails, does this happen? No? Okay, maybe if I need to go to Instagram, this happens. Okay, that's my sweet spot. Let me go there. So that's where you find where to put most of your energy instead of kind of running around all over the place, which you would have to do in the beginning anyway, trying to figure all these out. But don't do it as much as people are telling you to do it. This, for me anyway, kind of this whole hustle society is so toxic. It's so toxic. And
Yeah.
I fell into that for a while because, you probably know Virgos, we work a lot. We
Yeah.
have the capacity to work a lot. Is it good for us? No. Is it good for anybody around us? No.
Not if they want to hang out around us. No. Generally
No.
not.
We get more like crazy. We're like, no, it's not going to work. So I kind of been, I've been completely shying away from the hustle society, hustle culture, all this hustleness, because it's not good. There's some people who thrive on it, I would say. They thrive on it and go them, great. But for people who have already a limited amount of energy they can access, that is not good for us. It actually will make us, it'll actually keep us small, I would say. It'll keep us small because it is forcing us, again, to go back into a box that we don't belong. And it's forcing us to also compare. And once you start comparing yourself to others, you kind of lost the game that day. You need to start over. Because once you start comparing especially your energy level to someone else's energy level, and you're like, why can't I do that? Now you're starting to do a lot of negative self-talk, which sometimes you need to, so you can realize what you need to work on, but it's not going to help you in the long run if you keep doing it. So keeping the kind of eye on the prize for your lane, like kind of like stay in your lane, even if it's the fast lane or if it's the slow lane or it's the middle lane, stay in your lane and figure out what works for you, because that is what's going to get you past that red light. Yep. It's going to kind of keep you going forward. And if you have that in mind of like, what is your energy level today? And you could check in with yourself. I do that quite a bit. And like, I literally just stop for a second. And for me, I kind of check with my heart, because my heart is my issue. I'm like, okay, are you good today? Do we need something today? What do we need to do today? And sometimes I'll literally hear something like, we need to lay down for like 15 minutes, then we'll be fine. I'm like, okay, we'll lay down for 15 minutes. And I'll get on my phone and I'll do something on my phone, because my brain is fine. And then on the days that my brain is not fine because my, migraines are acting up, then those are the days that I know, depending on what's going on with everything else, I probably can't do as much, but I have my one thing list that I'll try to hit that day. It might not be perfect. It might not be good, but I want to hit it so I can be like, okay, I'm still doing something. And then on those times that you really need to stop everything, please just stop everything. Take care of yourself, because then you're going to have what I have when I have a really bad migraine and I push myself too far. They literally call it a hangover. You have like a migraine hangover. The next day you feel almost the same, except you don't have a migraine, but your entire body feels like you have a hangover. It's because you pushed yourself too far. And if you realize you're having a lot of those, you're pushing yourself too much when you don't feel well. And if you keep pushing yourself when you don't feel well, you're going to have more days that you don't feel well. And that's just, unfortunately, our reality. So once you start realizing, like, I can't do anything more today, and there's certain minimum things that you have to do, just do those. If you can drop everything or outsource or delegate or just like forget about it until the next day, do that. Because that's going to serve you far more in the long run than you pushing yourself one extra hour that day, because you're just going to probably wipe yourself out for the rest of the week.
Right.
And so that's very important for a lot of people to realize. We don't have to keep pushing ourselves. We can literally press the pause button, try again, either later that day or the next day. And I know it's hard, especially if you're in a 9-to-5 where it's like, no, you have to do this, or you have a lot of clients going on. That's when I say fall back to the bare minimum. What do you need to do that day? Yeah. Do that. But don't do anything further.
Yeah. And so the way you work with clients in terms of guiding them through this process. So you've recently, you've taken a big leap forward, basically, from what I've noticed, is in, talking with people about this stuff and helping people through this stuff and setting them up for success. So when you're talking with clients or friends who are like getting to the point where they don't know that they need to stop, what sort of ways can you encourage them to just take a moment to, self-center or, like realize, okay, maybe today is just a day for a break? Because I know so many people that just, I just want to say, just stop and just breathe. And not all of them are, like yoga minded or would accept that kind of constructive advice. So when you're helping, I guess when you're helping clients or when you're helping friends, how do you approach the topic of, maybe I might know what I'm talking about and maybe you should listen to me, but I come from a place of love. So how do we encourage that in other people?
That could be hard for Virgos because sometimes we're direct. We're like, we're right, you need to listen. No, but hopefully by that point, if I don't, then I would just ask. But hopefully by that point, I already know things that bring joy in their life, things that will naturally slow them down. And it's kind of one of like my little superpowers that I have. I'll hold on to information like that because then I'll serve it right back to them. And if you ever worked with like an ICF coach, the International Coaching Federation, we have certain criteria, and one of them that I found was interesting. I was terrified of it, and then I realized that's what I'm good at. It's called direct feedback, and it's just literally giving it straight back to them in the most loving way as possible, but very, very direct. So if I've had a client do this, she was struggling because she was literally juggling all the things. And I asked her, I'm like, okay, well, what time this week can you add this? And she like literally stopped for a second. She's like, but I don't have time for that. I'm like, no, we're making time for that. So what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? Because I'm going to check in with you the next day. And she just kind of got like taken aback. She's like, well, okay, I guess I can, I think it was like reading a book or something. Like, great. You're going to read a book for how long? Like, and I have them create it. I'll bring it up to them. I'm like, I think you should be doing this, but I want you to create the plan, because if you create the plan, it's far more likely that you're going to do it. If I create the plan for you, I know me. If somebody creates a plan for me, I'm just like, nope, it's not going to happen. Like I might say I'll do it, especially because I'm an obliger and I will do things that I say I'm going to do, but I'm like begrudgingly doing it and I hate it. So even if it's something that's supposed to calm me down, it's not going to calm me down. So I have them create the plan, them really own the plan, and then actually do it. And sometimes it doesn't always hit. Sometimes they're just like, I didn't have enough time. I'm like, okay, we'll try again. And it's kind of like we keep trying until they get to the point, because once they do it, once they experience that they feel better after doing it, then that's what I'm looking for, because they're kind of like rewarding themselves doing a behavior that's meant to reward them anyway. It's a good, joyful, happy, whatever they're doing.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I'll give suggestions. There was one suggestion I remember that didn't land at all with a client. And I didn't realize it until she gave me like a testimonial at the end. I was like, oh, I wish I would have known that. And that was affirmations, because I'm very big on affirmations. So I'm like, okay, why don't we try this affirmation every week? And she kind of didn't sound like she wanted to do it. And I was like, okay, so I have her do something else. I'm like, is there anything else that's kind of like this, that's going towards the same goal we're doing, that's going to help you? And, she gave it back to me. But at the end of it, she kind of said that she hated affirmations. Like, oh, I didn't know that. I would have not suggested it. So it's kind of like we kind of have to test things too, of like, okay, let's see if this lands with you, because at our very core, how you're describing it, we just want to help. We just want you to feel better. We want you to not feel crummy. We want you to, be happy. So that is our goal. So that's where we come from. That is the place we're coming from. And I think once people realize that, they take it a lot better. So it's kind of like sometimes it's that first time that's a little harder, because they're like, I don't know if I fully trust you. Why do I need to do yoga to feel better? I'm like, trust me, just try it. Just try it. And if it didn't work, you can tell me what you think will work. Simple as that. And I very much like giving power to the person who needs help. So if I see that they need help, I'll give them options, but I want them to choose it because I want them to do it.
Right.
And I mean, I can't say that always happens. I can say that there's plenty of times I literally just tell someone to do something. I'm like, just trust me and do this. And go and literally on your bed and just take 3 deep breaths. Just do that. And sometimes they'll fight you on it, but it's because there's something underlying there that's making them feel bad that doesn't want to feel good, which is super interesting. But that's like almost like diving into psychology for a bit. Like it goes back to self-sabotage. Uh-huh. They also kind of like are trying to stay there in that weird little self-sabotagey bubble.
Yep.
And you just have to kind of like break the bubble and try to let them out a little bit and see what they can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's yeah, and it I love that it always comes from a place of love, and but I mean, us as Virgos, we just like, I just want to fix you. Follow my instructions so I can fix you.
I have all the answers, I promise. And then when we don't, we're just like, oops.
Well, anyway, change of subject.
Oh, we're funny that way.
Yep. So basically, okay. So we've been talking about how to use goals and use energy and how to organize ourselves a little bit more on an awareness level, being aware of where we are energy wise and how we want to use our energy to now and tomorrow and all that. So what sort of I mean, you gave the freebie for the what did you, it was
the life survey. Yeah.
The life survey. I want to say life book. I'm like, but that's not it. I heard the commercial for life book. That's why.
It's a workbook.
Yes. So the life survey. So you gave us that, and once we've gone through it and really had a moment to sit down with our cup of coffee, cup of tea, whatever, with it, what do you think people should do after that step? Like, what's the next step after they filled it out and had a moment with it?
So if you haven't done it yet, for anybody who's watching, it's literally a questionnaire, and you kind of go through all of the questions, and it's not that long. And then one part of it that I wanted to make sure I added, I wasn't sure if I wanted to, but I thought it was very important, is creating a vision for each of those categories. So how you want that category to be, especially now knowing that maybe it's a 4 out of 10 and you didn't expect that low of a number. Okay, well, what do you want it to look like? And the reason why this helps in so many different ways and why I'm a life and business coach is because I don't separate the two. They're very much entwined, especially for everybody I work with. They're freelancers. They're intertwined with their lives no matter what. But if you spend the time doing that and then realizing what your lowest categories are, don't be fearful of them. If it's something like a 1 out of 10, that just means you have some work to do, which is fine. But look at what you need to do in your vision of it. So if you want to be more social, what does that look like to you? Because being social means different for a whole bunch of different people. Like for me, being social can be literally going out or doing this. Like this is social. But to really see what that really means to you, and then you see where your energy is supposed to be going towards, because that's where your heart wants it to go. If there's something that's particularly scary because it's things that are out of your control, do only the things that are in your control, because you cannot control people. If there is a relationship that you need to work on and it has to do with another person, work on your side of it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can actually kind of master each area as you're going to see what you want it to look like, where you want your energy to be in those areas. And you can also see if any of the areas are sucking your energy because it's so low and you're fighting against something. That's really where you should be sitting. And if you journal, great. If you don't, great time to start. Figure out what's really bringing you down in those areas so you can actually, it's the whole awareness is key. So you can actually see what you need to work on. And again, if it has to do with another person, if you're not married to them, you're going to have to figure it out on your own. Like literally only work on the part that you can work on. So if somebody's dragging your energy down because they're literally taking too much from you, start creating boundaries. And boundaries for a lot of people are super hard, especially for women. Like it's so hard for us to say like, no, I'm sorry, I'm doing this. And you don't have to say sorry. A lot of people say sorry to be nice about it, but some people say sorry because they're kind of minimizing themselves. So whichever reason you're choosing to say sorry, just know that creating that boundary is a great step for you to start. And that's happened to me plenty of times in my life where I'm just like always giving, especially if you're one of us that just wants to help people. We'll constantly give. But you have to know that that you're a lighthouse and not everybody's meant to come to your lighthouse. Like you're meant to actually make people go to another lighthouse. And you can still hold space for them. You can still be their friend. But if they're dragging you down so much because they're asking too much of you, you start to put in those little boundaries in place, you know, so you can have that time alone, or so you can have that time with other people who do fill your cup. So there's different ways you can look at the life survey thing to see where you need to work on and what you actually need to pull back from. And then that will give you more of a guide of either creating goals from there. You can actually use that to create goals, or just so you can get like a bird's eye view of what's going on with your life. Because sometimes we forget to check in on with ourselves. And if you don't do that every now and then, you're going to kind of go through the motions of nothing.
Which is a waste of energy anyway.
Yes. If you don't know where you're going and you're not trying to create some sort of pathway there, you're just kind of like me in Target looking around like, what do I need to buy? I don't need to buy anything, but I'm here anyway. And that's not a good, I mean, unless you're there for that reason of just window shopping, it's never really a good use of your resources. I'm not going to even just say energy, because even your money disappears. Don't know how that happens. Yeah.
So for those of us who want to take it a step further, are you accepting clients? Do you have something in terms of like what is your availability to take on some more boats, let's say?
So I am taking clients. I have a one-on-one, just kind of like, we'll work through what you need to work through. And I have this intake kind of questionnaire and session so we can actually figure out what you need to work on. However, I also have a course/coaching program, and that is called Intuitive Productivity. So it does very much have to do with this. So that one's an 8-week course with one-on-one coaching alongside of the course. But if you don't feel like you need the course, I also just have coaching. And then I also have another kind of like one-off offer, and that is your business personality assessment. So we go through a lot of personality tests, and basically you fill out the workbook, and then we jump on a 60-minute call so you can see how you can put that in your business and what works and what doesn't work that you need to kind of navigate. So I kind of have those 3 main things: one-on-one kind of assessment, an 8-week course/coaching, and then just about a 12-week coaching program.
Okay, well that's awesome. I'm loving that you're another lighthouse in the ocean, and everybody needs more lighthouses in their life.
Yes. And I love connecting with other lighthouses, just in case a boat comes my way. I'm like, I think that's your boat.
Toot toot. Anyways, yep. So is there anything else that you wanted to go over or talk about that maybe relevant, maybe not relevant? I don't know.
Oh, okay. I mean, as I mentioned before, when you're a freelancer, especially, everything's very intertwined. So just focusing on business and just focusing on life will get you certain places, especially if you're working with a business coach specifically for launches. That's fine. But eventually it's going to bleed into another, especially during a launch, or especially during a time where you're trying to pivot or up level. They will bleed into each other. So that's why I think it's very, very important to see your whole picture. Because you, especially if you own your business, you are a puzzle. We are all puzzles, but like we are like mega puzzles. We have to figure out so many moving pieces. We have to figure out what we want to do with our business, what we want to do working with other people, and also how we want to do it with our lives in it. So one thing I tell people to do is actually to do like a 5-year vision. So you can use the life balance survey for that. It has vision parts. But is that your kiddo?
No, it's my dog whining.
It's your kiddo. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the furry one. The furry one. The furry annoying one.
Oh, I want a fur kid. So you can use that, but otherwise, like I have a 5-year vision, and I change it every now and then. But for the most part, it literally is just a story of how I want my life in 5 years, and it kind of gives you an idea and a roadmap of like, okay, so if you want this, 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 and this, how are you going to get there? What do you need to get there? What support do you need to get there? And what actual like income do you need to get there? Like all of the pieces moving, so you can kind of see like, okay, and then you could revisit it some people do it every year, some people do it every 6 months. Look at your vision and be like, am I still on track? One of the things I actually have in my course that I've been developing, and think it's to the point that I like it. It's called a one-page abundance plan. And it kind of has like a miniature version of your vision, your mission, all of the things on one page. So you can just have it right in front of you at your desk. And whenever you feel like you're about to flounder or something, you look at it, I'm like, am I on track? Yes or no? Literally just ask yourself. It's kind of what people use for the word of the year. They have a word and like, am I on track with that? Yes or no? Okay. And that guides them. It's the same thing. You have this one page, literally just one pager. It's not like a whole book. And you're just like reading it. And it also really helps if you're into manifestation because you're looking at it so often. And it includes, like your, I don't know if you heard of immutable laws, but like it has that, it has your vision, it has all of that. So if you want to make one of yourself, honestly, it's probably not that hard, but I can show you guys how to do that too. And literally just make one yourself. And then you have something that you're looking for. And for me, it's important to make sure that it actually has things that not only are in my business, but also in my life. So I have some of my core values on there are my life. It's not just my business. And there's some corporations that do that too, and it's just for their business. But because we're so much in our business, we are our business and our business is our life. We have to make sure that actually melds well together and it's not two separate things. You can have, obviously you should separate things, but in this case, when you're having like a long-term vision that's guiding you, it should kind of be as intertwined as you can. So whenever anything comes up, if something questioning your life side, you can look at that. If something questioning your business side, you can look at that and making sure that it goes together so you can proceed forward. So you're not so disconnected with everything that you're doing that you're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of having like a roadmap is very, very helpful.
Yeah. Because I think most of us come from an era or a day and age when we didn't have Siri or GPS or Google Nav. I remember looking at maps and printing out the instructions from MapQuest once upon a time.
Yeah, I know. I remember that too. It was just like, there's so many roads now, though.
Yeah. So, yeah. If there are any more questions from the audience, I know Lucy's been hanging on and interacting with us. Let yourself speak up, ask questions. And yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to say or encourage or ask. Yeah, the dog's being annoying. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I just want to thank you for coming on and chit-chatting with us. And I love the chit-chat. It was awesome. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, Christy is already in the group. She's been in the group for a while and interacting. So feel free to pipe up and, connect if you need to. Yeah. So thank you for coming, and we shall chat soon.
Great. And then, yeah, if anybody has any questions, just if you ask a question and I don't see it, just tag me and I'll pop in the group and answer the question.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right,
people. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stop.